Happy Stranger Things Day, everybody. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. One of my biggest Stranger Things videos of the year, as it is Stranger Things Day, November 6th, 2024, and we've got announcements in the morning already with potentially more on the way. Talking episode titles for every episode of Season 5. I'm talking a release year. Lots to discuss, and before I get into it, be sure to hit that like button, comment down below your thoughts on these episode titles, your predictions for Season 5, and more. Subscribe to that notification bell to help reach my goal of 150,000 subscribers here on the channel. It would mean a lot. So real quick, for those who don't know, Stranger Things Day is every year on November 6th. The reason being, the first episode of Stranger Things opens on November 6th, 1983, and that is the day Will Byers was taken to the Upside Down. So starting in 2018, it started to be recognized as a day, Stranger Things Day. We typically get some sort of announcements, trailers, videos, behind the scenes photos, you name it, but every year since 2018, we've gotten something teasing an upcoming season of the show. However, this year is a bit strange because it's only the second ever Stranger Things Day where we got no promotional material for Stranger Things Day. Like, usually they drop a graphic or a schedule of events for Stranger Things Day, but that wasn't the case this year. And because of that, it had me really nervous last night. I was like, are they gonna pull something and not give us anything? But at 9 a.m. Eastern time today, they came through big. They dropped a full-on video with all 8 episode titles, a tease of release date, and even a confirmation of something happening in season 5. So it's not even noon, and we've got lots to discuss. I'm gonna do what I always do when we get a photo dump or big news like this. I'm breaking it down piece by piece, so get your popcorn ready and hold on your butts, bro chachos, because we're diving in.
Hold on to your butts, bro chachos.
Starting with the EP titles, it is important to note that back in April of this year, the first 6 episode titles for Stranger Things Season 5 were leaked online. They were the rumored titles, so I said to take it all with a grain of salt. Having seen the actual titles now, it's crazy that all 6 of those leaked titles line up perfectly with the actual titles. Going episode by episode, Season 5, Episode 1 is going to be called The Crawl, which we, of course, first found out 2 years ago today on Stranger Things Day 2022. This was the big piece of news they gave us. Not much to say there, as we've already talked about it for years. Season 5, Episode 2 is called The Vanishing of blank. This video they put out doesn't give us a name. It fully blurs it out. But if we base this off of the rumored leaked titles that dropped back in April, they gave us The Vanishing of blank Wheeler. Then we got some paparazzi photos of Holly Wheeler with Vecna in human form. Then we saw Holly in her room in the behind the scenes teaser trailer with lights flickering, and it's like, yeah, this is probably going to be Holly Wheeler. Why else would they have recast her with Nell Fisher moving forward, if not for her to have a bigger role in this season? All signs are pointing to episode 2 being The Vanishing of Holly Wheeler. Of course, the first episode of Stranger Things is called The Vanishing of Will Byers, so this is a nice callback to that. Season 5, Episode 3 is going to be called The Turnbow Trap. This was another one of those episode titles that was leaked, but I looked up Turnbow on Google because I really hadn't heard this before, and the first thing I got was some names of famous athletes, and I was like, that doesn't really make sense for Stranger Things, and then I did more digging, and Turnbow trailers are a thing, specifically horse trailers. So like if you're driving down the interstate and you see, you know, a big truck that has a horse trailer on the back, Turnbow is like the lead producer in those, apparently, from what I found. So I'm thinking maybe the gang puts together some plan involving one of those trailers or multiple of them. For what reason, I have no clue, but it's very possible they're going to be using Turnbow trailers to set up a trap for somebody, using context clues here.
Sherlock Holmes.
That's great.
Season 5, Episode 4 is going to be called Sorcerer. This was another one of the leaked episode titles, and this could very well be referring to Will Byers, aka Will the Wise. Maybe, just maybe, this is the episode where if they go the route of Will getting powers, he discovers that he has them or he receives them in this episode. Who's to say? Episode 4s are usually pretty wild. You look back at the sauna test in Season 3, crazy goes down. You look at Dear Billy in Season 4, it might be the best episode of the show. So I expect a lot out of Sorcerer. It's also the mid-season finale, the halfway point of the final season, so they're going to go big. Season 5, Episode 5 is called Shock Jock, and again, this is another one of those titles that was leaked back in April. And as I said back in the video I made in April, a shock jock is a broadcaster or DJ who entertains listeners and attracts attention using humor and or melodramatic exaggeration that may offend some portion of the listening audience. Like, think Howard Stern, for example. But with the WSQK radio station playing a large role in production so far this season, I imagine that in Ep 5, a shock jock could be introduced. Like, I'm thinking we have a new character come into play, and this could be their big episode. This could be the Linda Hamilton character, or shock jock could just be referring to them using WSQK radio station to send out some sort of signal or pose as a shock jock. Again, endless possibilities with no context of how the season's playing out. Very hard to sit here and guess what these actually mean. Now, Season 5, Episode 6 is by far the juiciest of any of these titles. It's called Escape from Camazotz. This is the last of the leaked episode titles from April, and when I did my research back then, I found some pretty damn interesting things. Now that this is officially confirmed as an episode title, it really opens the door for a certain someone to return in the final season. Camazotz means death bat in Mayan. If you get into the mythology of it all, he's often associated with ritual sacrifice. So what character do we know from Stranger Things that died at the hands of bats, demobats mind you, and sacrificed themselves for their friends? That would be none other than Eddie Munson. Could the Duffer Brothers actually be running with a long-standing theory that Eddie will become Kaz the Bloody-Handed in season 5 and return? It'd be wild, it'd be bonkers, to quote Jamie Campbell Bower, and they'd really be committing to something that might piss off some people, but please others at the same time. I'm here for whatever they do. Eddie's return, bring it on. Eddie doesn't come back, I'm okay with that as well, because I think he had a great ending. But could you imagine Eddie coming back? It would be a chilling moment. And I'm not making this up. They just announced Joseph Quinn for MegaCon. I don't know if there's any correlation, but they announced him on Stranger Things Day. I could be crazy. I could be playing into the delusion here, but Joseph Quinn's going to be going to MegaCon in February. What if they drop a teaser later today, a la From Russia with Love with Hopper, where, hey, Eddie's back? I'm just saying. Now, these next two episode titles were not a part of the leaked titles that came out in April, so this is our first time seeing them, and they got some good stuff going, especially the finale. But season 5 episode 7 is called The Bridge. This is the penultimate episode of Stranger Things season 5, aka the second to last episode of the series ever. And my first thought when hearing this was a bridge between the Upside Down and the real world. Like perhaps some of our characters are stuck in the Upside Down and can't get out for whatever reason. Who knows what situation the Duffers have wrote for them, but they have to bridge the gap between realities, essentially. It could also be one of the show's made-up terms that serves as a part of their final plan. For example, the piggyback in season 4 has its own context when you actually watch the season. It could be one of those instances. Or, for example, the dive in season 4, we didn't really know what the hell that meant, but when you watch the episode, you're like, oh, it's referring to Steve diving down Lover's Lake to go through the gate at the bottom. I mean, in a way, this could even be referring to an actual physical bridge in Hawkins that we haven't gone to yet, like a new location in Hawkins, or perhaps a bridge that you can only enter downtown Hawkins or Hawkins through, because we saw it go through hell at the end of season 4 and there's so much destruction. Maybe the military creates some base that's like a one-way in, one-way out type situation. Who's to say? Anything's possible here, and I feel like when we have the full context of the bridge, it'll be one of those, oh, moments when we sit down and watch the episode and understand it. And lastly, for episode titles, we have the final episode of Stranger Things, the series finale. Season 5, episode 8 is going to be called The Right Side Up. For years, we've speculated what the final episode of Stranger Things will be called, and now we have our answer. I think the title being the reverse, the opposite of the Upside Down, is pretty neat. But at the same time, I do feel like I've seen people comment this for years. They're like, it should be called The Right Side Up, the final episode. And so they're going with it, and it's like, yeah, it's cool, but also I feel like they could have gone even more outside the box with it. I also don't know how often the term right side up has actually been used in the show, so it does feel a bit strange. I'll admit, I'm just a little surprised they actually committed and went with that as the series finale title. But this does have me thinking that by the end of this episode, we'll finally witness the end of the Upside Down. Things will be right side up. But it does make sense, you know, in order for us to have things right side up, you gotta get rid of the upside down, even if some characters have to bite the dust along the way. Now, I don't know what my pick would have been for the series finale title, but I'm not opposed to just Stranger Things. I think it's really cool when shows have their series finale titled after the show itself. But I like the title, honestly, I do. I think I'm just still processing it. Like, that's the final episode of Stranger Things, and then boom, the show's over. So those are all 8 episode titles for the final season of Stranger Things. They're not doing 9 episodes, they're committing to 8. We don't know the run times or any of that yet. We'll figure that out as we approach. But it is worth noting that even though they dropped this video, the titles still aren't officially set in stone, because sometimes they've dropped these videos where they release the titles for episodes and then they double back and change what they had originally. I am pointing out season 3 in particular. There are a couple episode titles in the video they dropped that didn't make the final cut, so anything's possible. These aren't still 100% set in stone, but there's a high likelihood these will be the episode titles. Now, the episode titles are huge, don't get me wrong, but we finally have confirmation that Stranger Things Season 5 is releasing in 2025. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we've been saying this forever now. 2025, next year, we're getting this season. In the video, after the episode titles are revealed, text pops up on screen that says, in the fall of 1987, one last adventure begins, coming 2025. So again, no date is attached to 2025, and that was actually my prediction. I said, I think they're just going to put coming 2025 at the end, and sure enough, they did. So the fact that within the next 12 months, we're going to get this really excites me. And they also confirmed that the season's going to take place in the fall of 1987, so the time jump is legit. We had already put this together, those who have been following the Ross Duffer post and really studying the behind the scenes posts. It's evident that there was going to be a time jump to November of 1987, and that's the case. But it's cool they're still officially acknowledging it here. But now the big question we have to ask is, when in 2025 will Stranger Things Season 5 drop? Well, if we look to next year's Stranger Things Day, 1 year from today, that's on a Thursday, November 6th. And as of late, Netflix's biggest shows have been dropping on Thursdays. So Thursday, November 6th, 2025 could be the date for at least one of the volumes of Season 5, because I believe they'll split it into 2 volumes, and maybe that final volume drops on Stranger Things Day, ending the show where everything began. We get the first batch of episodes in late summer of 2025, and the final batch in the fall of 2025. I would be totally okay with this because it'd mean that we'd get fed. And this isn't a Cobra Kai situation where the episodes are 30 minutes. These are an hour plus. I'm thinking an hour and a half to 2 hours for a lot of these episodes. So we're going to be fed way more than just 30 to 40 minutes at a time. But that does it for this massive Stranger Things Day update. We got the confirmation of 2025 for Season 5. We got the confirmation of the fall 1987 date for the show actually taking place, and we got all 8 episode titles for this final season of Stranger Things. Now all that's left is the first official footage, hopefully in teaser form. I'm gonna play into that delusion. We're probably not gonna get it today, but if we do, I'll be back with the reaction and breakdown, so stay tuned for that potentially. But that'll do it. I appreciate you guys for watching. Happy Stranger Things Day. What are you doing to celebrate? Let me know in the comments down below, and of course, let me know your thoughts on all this news, the episode title, 2025, everything. I want to hear it. Let's talk about it down below, and be sure to get yourself some Firefly merch to celebrate Stranger Things Day. I'm representing right now. If you go over there and use code FILMSTOCKED10, you can get 10% off your order. They got lots of awesome merch over there. But that does it for this big old Stranger Things Day update. Stay tuned for more content coming potentially today. And until next time, I'll see you on the other side of the Upside Down.